YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and I have my first team 7-round NFL mock draft. We're going to go through all the teams here, all 32 teams in draft order. The teams that don't have a first-round pick, they will be last, so I apologize to those fan bases out there, but we'll get through them. We'll get through them. We got plenty of free agency coverage too, and NFL draft coverage. I know free agency is just getting started right now, so I know some signings could change things up here. But we had to get started on these. We got 32 teams to get to. Well, we got regular NFL draft content, position rankings got to get to, free agency coverage. So a lot to get to. Great time of year here for the NFL for us here at the Goat House. So we got to get started here. But basically, what I do here, it's a 7-round mock draft, and I predict the pick, but it's also at the same time what a great draft for each team would look like, in my opinion. Maybe best possible. It has to be realistic, but I want to give a grade A draft that is realistic. If that makes sense, hopefully it does. Right before we get started, you can check out the links in the description. We got our Twitter. We're constantly talking about free agency at the moment on our Twitter, so it's a must follow. Our Instagram, we constantly have posts, and we have a new Patreon page. There's a link in the description for that. Much appreciated if you check that out. If you want extra content, outside of YouTube, we have draft content, position rankings, anything early like that. You have to check out our Patreon for more on that. So let's get started with the Cardinals, though. First pick, I'm going to give them Kyler Murray because that's what I believe is going to happen with the first overall pick. In round one, obviously, I think they'll go Kyler Murray. To me, it's starting to make a little sense, even though they took Rosen last year, but you can't really look at it that way. You got to look at, Kingsbury in this situation, the coach. He has to have his players to do his best, and that's what you want. So, he's got one shot at this, and Kyler Murray's his guy. So, I mean, if he's his guy, then that's who he needs. That's who he needs. He's always been pretty on the quarterbacks in his offense too, even though he has a losing record at Texas Tech, but it's mainly because of the defense. He had to go out and recruit defense. It's totally different here. He can go out, pick his quarterback here, let the NFL experienced defensive guys handle it. In this case, Vance Joseph handle the defense with NFL talent, not Texas Tech Big 12 defensive talent. So I think he'll be okay. I think he needs his weapons, his guys. I think Kyler Murray's his guy. So we're going to start with that. Things can change when we get closer, but as of now, the first video I'm doing is for the Cardinals, obviously. I'm going Kyler Murray. We're going to the second round, and I like this here. Ja'Kai Polite, round 2. He would play outside linebacker in their 3-4 defense. He's a first-round talent, no doubt, but he's probably going to drop, and, he can still go late first round, but like I said, this is best case here. But if he's sitting there with the first pick of the second round, you got to take him. The guy has elite traits as a pass rusher. Yeah, he needs to work on his run-stopping ability, and that's what may have brought up the somewhat of red flags in the combine meetings. People breaking down his game, breaking down his film, and kind of ripping him a little bit. And that's what teams do. How could you fix this? They tell him, what did you do wrong here? And they probably assessed his run-stopping game, and it needs work, but it's fine. It's a passing league, and you can be coached in that type of area. You wish he would have handled a little better, but he has the traits to be he could be a top 15 player in this draft pretty easily. So very athletic guy. He can play outside linebacker for him. I know they just signed Terrell Suggs, but how many years does Suggs have left? You're missing out on that big-time pass rush with the first pick. You get a guy like Polite with tremendous value. Makes a lot of sense here. The future could be Chandler Jones and Ja'Kai Polite. Great to have Suggs right now. They have other needs as well, but you can't just go based off need. You got to take a look. Maybe we need a D lineman or a linebacker, receiver a little more, but Polite sitting there, might have to grab him. I think that would be, so far, a fantastic draft. Go to round 3 here. I got him taking Eldon Jenkins, Mississippi State, guard/center. Can play either. I think he plays left guard for the Cardinals. I like him at left guard for the Cardinals. They needed a right tackle, guard. They go out and get the right tackle on the trade of the Steelers, and now they're going to get their starting left guard in Jenkins here. He has potential to go second round, so he's that borderline late second, early third. So best case draft here for the Cardinals. Falls to him in the third, and they grab him. It makes a lot of sense here. I think he could start at left guard right away. Next up in round 4, Antoine Wesley. Makes a lot of sense. It's a Cliff Kingsbury guy from Texas Tech. I think he has potential to go round 3. Best case scenario, round 4 here. Wesley's a long receiver. got the height to him, but he's pretty athletic. He can move. You would like for him to put a little size on, but, I don't think it's 100% necessary. I think people overreact to those type of things, but he's pretty good. He can run routes. There's really not that many big negatives to his game. Maybe he doesn't have the biggest route tree, but you can see he can move and he can adapt. He's going to be familiar with the offense. And they have Christian Kirk, who could be slot, could be outside. Larry Fitzgerald he plays in the slot, can play outside. Wesley is your outside guy, the guaranteed outside guy. You don't need too many guys in the slot. It's always good to have a guy that can play in the slot, play out. They have a couple of those. So I think Wesley makes sense for that reason. It makes sense for the fit reasons, and Kingsbury being there makes a lot of sense. So round 4, look out for Wesley for the Cardinals. I think it's a possibility in round 3 as well. He could go then. It's going to be interesting to see how these receivers come off the board. There's so many good ones. People are going to grade them differently. It's going to be very interesting. Moving on, round 5, I got him taking Isaiah Buggs. Now, he has a pretty big range too. He can go as early as the 3rd, or he can go in the 5th. Most likely, it'd probably be that 4th range, split the difference there. But there's a chance he's there early 5th for the Cardinals. And this is, best case, like I said. He can play DN for them in that 3-4. Makes a lot of sense. Tremendous upside, getting limited snaps with Bama because they have an insane rotation. Look at Deshaun Hand from last year. Same situation. He didn't have the best production, but it's because he split with guys at Alabama, and Deshaun Hand turned out very well for the Lions so far. So Isaiah Buggs could be a steal around these rounds here, but it's possible he can go as early as 3, but this is definitely possible, best case here. But moving on to the next pick, still got some needs for the Cardinals. Round 6, they get another receiver, Deontay Johnson from Toledo, athletic receiver, a guy, he's a shifty guy, can play outside, and he probably potentially can play in the slot too. They can use a few receivers. This is more of a depth guy right away. I've heard he can go earlier in this. He's got that round 4 to 6 range, but because of the receivers, how many good ones there are, I think he drops a little bit. But here you finish building your receiver depth young, and definitely can help Kyler Murray, your young quarterback, right away too. Another 6th-round pick, Bobby Okereke from Stanford. He can play inside linebacker for them. Him and Hassan Reddick could be a good option. You don't really expect a round 6 guy to play instantly, but he can compete for the job. He had a very good production from Stanford there. So they get him in round 6. Moving on, they got 3 7th-round picks here. Dennis Daly, a tackle from South Carolina. They don't really need a starting tackle at this point. Maybe they can use a guy to compete, but you need depth, not rotation. You need depth for the offensive line. Guys get hurt, and you need future as well there while getting depth. So that makes sense here. They can grab a tackle here in the later rounds. They need a starting guard at the moment. We still got some free agents to be signed, hopefully. But they grab Dennis Daly here. Moving on here, Albert Huggins, the Clemson defensive tackle. You get Buggs playing at DN. Huggins can play the D tackle spot for you. And Huggins has got upside too because he was behind Wilkins and Dexter Lawrence. And then Dexter Lawrence was suspended. Huggins had to start, and they were just fine with him. So a guy with upside. Not a lot of production, but he has upside kind of like Buggs too. But Buggs, a little more production. So round 7, that could be a steal here. Guy with a lot of upside. And they could use multiple D linemen, and they grab 2 there. And then with the last pick for the Cardinals, I have them going with another linebacker, and that's Cameron Smith. A guy, if he came out last year, which people expected him to do, he actually could have been a day 2 pick, maybe early day 3. So last year he looked a little better than this year. Some say maybe a little undersized. But, he can play. He's instinctive. He can play. Somebody's going to get a good football player in round 7. Can be used as a special teamer right away. But can compete to play, too, because they're still trying to develop Hassan Reddick in there as an inside linebacker, which I thought coming out he was an outside guy. And I still think that. But they're going to try to work it out. So they're going to need another starting middle linebacker. Maybe Okereke can battle for that. And Cameron Smith. But they need guys for depth and for safety, not the position safety, for to play it safe, I should say, because Hassan Reddick, I think really should be a pass rusher. He was a very good pass rusher at Temple. My evaluation, I had him as a pass rusher. So we'll see. I'm not doubting the guy, still young. So we'll see. They need a couple linebackers. Maybe you would like for them to get. I had them getting 2. Maybe I waited a little bit to get him, but there was so much value at the top there. You can't pass on Polite. He's still a first-round talent. He might drop out of the first just because teams are a little scared on him. Do they want to put that first-round label on this guy that, has a little bit of an attitude problem? But soon as it's a different story, as soon as he gets to that pick 1 in the second round, like you got to take a chance on this guy, So, and then Wesley's too good to. A lot of those guys would be too good to pass up in this A-grade 7-round mock for the Arizona Cardinals. So I know there's going to be Cardinals fans watching this video. Let me know if you have, your 7-round mock for them. Let me see them. I'm always curious to see who guys like for the Cardinals, who you think they're going to get. We will see. Should be interesting to do all 32 of the teams. We're going to go in draft order. I apologize if you have to wait a while for your teams, but a lot goes into this. I find really good fits. I don't just throw players in there. I go and find the right players. So it's a little bit of a process. So we'll get through it. We got plenty of NFL draft coverage. We got to do an updated mock draft as soon as free agency starts to cool down because things change because of that. Free agency grades. We're always talking about free agency in the moment right now on the channel. Lots of stuff going on here. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. We much appreciate it. We got plenty of coverage here. Clicking the like button, we much appreciate it. Click that notification button too because we went live over the weekend, and it was kind of a last-second thing, so you want to be notified of that when we can't really let you know beforehand. Sometimes that happens. So, yeah, that'll do it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for plenty more to come. Goodbye.